I am a master of time management. I dated 8 boyfriends at the same time for 3 months. They didn't even notice each other's existence, and they even thought they were the ones I loved the most. And I am often troubled and annoyed by my love for them. And they warned me repeatedly to recognize my own identity and not to have any improper expectations of them. It's so funny. I only want their money. Boyfriend number 1, David. He is a rich and domineering boss, but he has a lot of things to do. He likes to play office play. Every time we went out, he asked me to wear a white dress and act as his secretary. During lunch break, I had to play the piano for him. Very pretentious. But he has so much money that it's irresistible. Date at noon. As he requested, I wore a white dress, light makeup, and long black hair, and waited for him in his office. He came back from the meeting with a frown on his face. She immediately said with disgust to me, her stand-in, "You are just imitating her. Even if you dress up like her, it doesn't matter. You are still not even a hair better than her." I smiled politely. "As long as you like it." "You idiot, you have so many problems. Isn't this what you asked for?" His eyes turned even colder when he heard this. I don't know what I was thinking about. She said to me, "I warned you not to fall in love with me. I will only love her in my life." Okay, I know you have Bayu Guang. I pinched myself, walked to the piano with red eyes, and played a song of anxiety for him. He listened halfway and stood up angrily. Boyfriend number 2, Joseph, is a university professor. He asked me out for shopping today. When we got to the mall, he picked out dozens of pieces of clothing and asked me to try them on one by one. I spent the whole afternoon trying them on and was exhausted. But she still resisted the urge to curse and said to him with a sweet smile, "Chuan, are these clothes all for me? You are so kind. I like every piece of them." After saying that, he turned and left. At the same time, $200,000 arrived in my account. Yes, all 8 of my boyfriends are the same. Although he paid me to have a relationship, it was just eating, chatting, and shopping together. They vowed to keep the innocence for their Bai Guang, and they wouldn't even let me touch her hand. You know what to do next, right? For the sake of the $1 million gift, I nodded obediently. If I can finish this job, I'll be able to earn enough money for retirement and run away. I suppressed my excitement and whispered, "Brother Han, I know. I will behave well and try to make your goddess jealous. After you two are together, I will leave wisely and won't be a nuisance to you." When Paul heard this, he glared at me with a fierce face, and he looked very unhappy. This time it tasted right. Paul's expression was less cold. But he still said to me in an annoyed tone, "Impossible. My heart will always be loyal to her. I will give you $2 million today. Be sensible and don't show up in front of me again after the matter is settled." I nodded reluctantly. I understand. Stupid man, it's so hard to please. Paul took me to the door of the private room where I had an appointment with his goddess. After opening the door, there was a moment of silence in the air. I didn't expect that there was not only Paul's goddess, but also my other 7 boyfriends. I was stunned. I never expected that the white moonlight of my 8 boyfriends was actually one person. This girl looks about 80% similar to me. Just like how I usually dress, she likes to wear white dresses, has long hair draped over her shoulders, and has a pair of big watery eyes, looking gentle and fragile. No wonder. They often look at my face in a trance. While I was in a daze, all 7 boyfriends' eyes fell on me. No, to be precise, it fell on Paul's hand that was around my waist. They all had gloomy faces and unhappy eyes. The look in his eyes when he stared at me was as if he wanted to kill me. The girl looked at Paul's hand on my waist and was slightly stunned. Then his eyes turned red, a sad expression appeared on his face, and he asked cautiously, "Ziki, is this your new girlfriend?" After she said this, the 7 boyfriends looked at us with even more anger. Paul was indeed one of the backups. Seeing the goddess' tearful look, he forgot about his careful plan and softened his heart. One of them pushed me away and immediately distanced himself from the relationship. No, I don't know her. I fell to the ground in a mess, but no one paid any attention to me. The girl also burst into laughter. I am childhood sweetheart with these 8 people. Although she is the same age as me, she is different from me, an orphan who grew up without a father or mother and in an orphanage. She is the daughter of the Lin group and a little princess who has been pampered since childhood. The others also stopped what they were doing and looked at me angrily, but it didn't work. They still glared at me. The look he gave me was even more ferocious than the one Paul gave me when he hugged me that day. They all looked like they had been betrayed. Paul's gold chain was pulled off, and he loosened his grip on Joseph and adjusted his tie. His face was gloomy. You found 7 men behind my back. You are quite capable. This is unreasonable. So I imitated Lisa. With tears in my eyes and a passionate voice, I tried to ask. Everything was going well. Who knew that there would be a traitor among them? Paul raised his chin slightly and said almsgivingly, You begged me before, wanting to stay with me forever. Okay, I promise you now, as long as you break up with them in the future, I can forgive you for the past. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at Paul coldly, as if they wanted to beat him up. The craziest boyfriend number 5 has a different way of thinking from others. His way of grasping the key points is also very novel. He looked as if he had been struck by lightning. You're pregnant. Whose bastard is it? After saying that, he looked around with red eyes. That expression of catching an adulterer makes everyone look like the child's father. Zichichin, what did you send? As soon as he finished speaking, David punched him as well. Later, Paul was really beaten up by a group of people. I took the opportunity to slip away while he was being beaten. After that day, the 8 ex-boyfriends tossed and turned and couldn't sleep all night. In the end, he couldn't help but call me and angrily asked me whose child it was. I am speechless. Are you sick? There is no such thing as a child. So they all replied in unison, cursing, Your father's. You can use tricks to snatch the man next to me? Don't dream. The person they love will only be me forever. Yes. I didn't care about her ridicule and even nodded vigorously. Who cares about a man with 8 oil cakes? Only she can bear it. I pleaded sincerely, Can you please take care of them and tell them not to come to me again? As a result, Lisa thought I was provoking her. She rolled her eyes as if she had heard a joke and said sarcastically, Are you dreaming? They only have eyes for me. Will they take the initiative to find you? Don't be so annoying. I looked at him in silence, without saying a word. Then, I don't know what he thought of, he showed an understanding smile and said gently, Ziki, I'm here. Did you recognize the wrong person? Paul was stunned and asked in surprise, You sure? Why are you here? This clearly told her that she had not recognized the wrong person. She is well-dressed, kind, and even risked her own life to save us when we were little. The 8 of us owe her a life. No matter what time it is, she is the person I care about the most. I will never allow anyone to hurt her in my life. Paul gnashed his teeth and said, I thought it was not easy for you to raise a child by yourself, and I thought that even if I got married and had children in the future, I would keep you by my side. I didn't expect that you were so vicious. If you dare to do that to you, what gives you the right to act arrogantly in front of her? Do you think others are fools just because they don't get angry? Numbers 6, 7, and 8 also belittled and scolded me one by one. I sighed and was speechless. I get it, your favorite is Lisa. I am not even a hair inferior to her. But I really don't want to interfere with your relationship. I sincerely feel that the 9 of you are a perfect match and are meant to be together for the rest of your lives. So, I thought about it and suggested seriously, how about you don't come to me again in the future, so that your you sure won't be sad. As a result, they didn't know if they were crazy. Not only did he not listen to my serious advice, he even misunderstood that I was just speaking in anger. Jealous of Lisa. Paul sneered, with an expression that said, "Why? Are you jealous of you, sure?" I didn't expect that after I warned you so many times, you still had improper thoughts about me. Although you are not as important as you sure in my heart, but considering your kindness, as long as you admit your mistake to you sure and swear not to appear in front of her again, I can agree to let you stay by my side as a lover who can't be seen in public. David's face darkened. Paul, haven't you been beaten enough? After saying that, he turned his head and looked at me, still with that confident expression on his face, and asked in confusion, "You have been dating me for 3 months. You love me to death, and you would rather not have money to be with me. Why did you find those 7 people later? Are they threatening you? Although my heart is loyal to you, sure, but for the sake of these 3 months, by the day we met, my birthday, and various hobbies, if this is not love, then what is?" Soon, they all started to fight for me because of who I loved the most. Also, you treat me as a substitute, and I treat you as the boss. We are both willing to do this. Moral blackmail is not acceptable. As stand-ins, the first requirement of our job is that we must never fall in love with our boss. Don't worry, I swear, I will stay away from you and Lisa from now on. I wish you 9 people a happy marriage, a long life together, and many children. Finally, I finished. The 8 ex-boyfriends who were still arguing about who I loved the most were all dumbfounded. Their faces turned dark, and they turned to look at me in disbelief. "You said that we were all pretending to love you?" The 8 ex-boyfriends were devastated. I also said with a look of horror, "You are not in love with me, are you? Help." "No. They are still more suitable for Lisa." After hearing what I said, the 8 men sneered in unison with ugly expressions. They said in unison, "Do you deserve to fall in love with you? I will only love you sure in this life." After that, they gave me the routine warning not to disturb them and Lisa in the future. Finally, they all turned around and left. I breathed a sigh of relief. I patted my chest and thought, it's good that it's not. I was really scared. I was so happy when they weren't here. I went back to the orphanage in my hometown. The old dean held my hand with tears in his eyes. "Child, don't always bring back money. Leave more for yourself to spend." A bunch of little kids followed me clingingly, calling me sister. I touched their heads one by one and said with a smile, "Director, I also came from here. This is my home. You don't have to be polite to me." I gave most of the money I earned from my 8 ex-boyfriends to the old dean. The old dean remained unmarried for his entire life and lost all his youth and savings. I was abandoned in front of an orphanage and was picked up by the old director. Although we are not related by blood, the old director has always raised us children in the orphanage as her own children. All the children who have walked out of here remember her kindness. After staying in the orphanage for a week, the director gave me a jade bracelet. She sighed and said, "You have been sensible and kind since you were young. I still remember when you were 7 years old, you ran away secretly and met kidnappers. You also saved many children. You almost died at that time. I was almost scared to death. I didn't expect that in a blink of an eye, you have grown up so much. Take this jade bracelet. You wore it on your hand when I brought you home as a child. You were young at that time, and I was afraid that you would lose it, so I helped you put it away. This jade bracelet is of good quality, and it doesn't look like something that a poor family would have. There may be other hidden stories about your stay in the orphanage. If we are lucky, maybe we can find your relatives in the future." I looked at the jade bracelet with mixed feelings. Since they abandoned me, there is no need to look for them in the future. "Director, you should sell this jade bracelet and use it as food expenses for the children." The director smiled and glared at me, but still forcefully stuffed the bracelet into my hand. When I was about to leave, I ran into a man in a suit. Tell me he is so fierce, so just call him Tiger Egg. I recalled carefully, and it seems that there really is such a person. The man seemed to have remembered it and looked at me in surprise at first, then smiled a little embarrassedly. Is it Sister Chung Chung? I felt embarrassed when I saw him, a man older than me and quite handsome, calling me sister. You should just call me Orange. The director asked me, Chun Chung, do you still remember him? I was stunned. The director's grandmother said with a smile, this is who Dan. Didn't you save a group of little kids who were kidnapped? He lost his memory at that time and lived in our orphanage for more than half a year before being taken back by his family. At that time, although Hu Dan was older than you and half a head taller than you, he followed you around every day, calling you sister. You were annoyed with him and always wanted to get rid of him, but you couldn't. It was you who gave him the name Hu Dan. You told me that he was so fierce, so we should call him Hu Dan. I smiled and nodded. A big heart makes you big, my friend. The 8 men seemed to know Robert, and their faces became even uglier when they saw it was him. Paul was furious and said, Robert, it's you again. It's okay that you're always hanging around, you sure, but now you're even targeting Linda. I'm warning you, my tolerance is limited. Don't think that I won't do anything to you just because you sure likes you. Joseph also stared at Robert coldly. What is your relationship with Linda? I was stunned. I didn't expect Tiger Eggs to be so awesome. It turns out to be the Bai Yueg Wang of these 8 ex-boyfriends. Robert frowned slightly, ignored them, and asked me in a low voice. He glanced. They stared at him intently, their eyes filled with anger. I immediately became alert. I am familiar with the scene. This was the expression on their faces before Paul was beaten up that day. Robert is trying to help me get rid of these 8 psychos. Don't suffer any unexpected disaster. I strongly doubt that they both suffered from conjunctivitis. Among them, Paul was even angrier. He was still recovering from the last beating and his hands were still bandaged. Now he stared at me and Robert. His mentality collapsed, and he started talking about my ex-boyfriends and Lisa. From him, I learned that Robert, my ex-boyfriends, and Lisa all lived in the same compound, and they had been in the same school from elementary school to high school. But Robert thought they were sick and didn't interact with them much, mainly because my ex-boyfriend group fell deeply in love with Lisa for a while. I'm running out of money. Robert was very considerate. He was afraid that I would still be harassed by them, so he often came to have dinner with me. When they took me home, I would often run into those 8 men. Although they were afraid of being beaten, they always stared at us with gritted teeth on the side of the road. It's just creepy. Lisa actually found me. She looked at me with disdain and gave me 20 million directly, asking me to leave Robert. Then he said sarcastically, Linda, why are you so mean? You keep targeting my men. No matter if it's the 8 of them or Robert, you approach them just for money. I've seen many poor people like you. The 8 of them love me and won't marry you, so you're targeting Robert? Oh, don't dream. The Lee family won't let an orphan like you who has no family background into the family. There's 20 million in this card. Be smart and get out of the city with the money. Don't show up in front of Robert and the 8 of them again. I looked at the card on the ground, then at Lisa. I couldn't help but sigh. Is this the power of love? Those 8 lickers never noticed Lisa's 2 faces from childhood to adulthood. I ignored her and walked away. Lisa wiped her tears and said with tears in her eyes, I'm sorry, sister. Who knew that she would fall down just as I passed by her? I know you hate me because of the 8 of them, but I came to see you today. Later, Robert came. He kicked Paul, who was standing outside, away with force. Plus, Paul fell flat on his face, screaming in pain, and his arm, which had not yet healed, was hit again, further injuring him. Lisa's face turned pale, and she bit her lip as she looked at Robert, her expression becoming even more aggrieved. Her 8 dogs suddenly became even angrier and glared at Robert. David said angrily, Robert, you have no eyes. You mistook pearls for fish eyes. You sure likes you so much and treats you so well, but you fall for such a vicious substitute. Joseph glared at Robert with gritted teeth. I'm warning you. Now Lisa behind them turned pale. The 8 of them frowned and subconsciously retorted in unison. What nonsense are you talking about? Why would I care about such a fake? Before leaving, Robert beat up all 8 of them to vent his anger on me. When they left, they all had bruises on their faces, but these were not a big blow to them. The biggest blow to them was seeing Lisa's arrogant and domineering side. Cheng Yi, do you have a heart? You lost your memory before. You sure was considerate and asked us not to mention the childhood incident in front of you. I didn't want to say it, but I didn't expect you to be so heartless and ungrateful. I couldn't help it. More than 10 years ago, several of us were kidnapped by kidnappers. We survived thanks to her desperate rescue. She is our lifesaver. How could you treat her like this for another woman? She was only 7 years old at the time. She dared to risk her life to save us at that time. How could she do such a thing now? I looked at the hysterical liquor number 5. I thought reflexively that the plot he described sounded quite familiar. In the middle of the crowd, Lisa's expression changed instantly. Robert frowned, and after a while he looked at them with a complicated expression. Are you so nice to Lisa because you think she saved us when we were little? David said sarcastically. What else? You lost your memory and forgot about this kindness. You trampled on Isher's kindness, but we didn't. Robert couldn't help but sneer, looking at the 8 of them like, knowing that they will look so gloomy when they grow up, it is better not to save them. After hearing this, the 8 of them were all stunned. Their expressions were exactly the same as Lisa's. Everyone had red eyes and pale faces. The look he gave me was filled with deep regret and pain. It seemed as if he had 1,000 words to say to me, especially like the miserable second male lead in TV dramas. It's kind of funny. I ignored them and turned to leave with Robert. But the following days made me feel that it was better not to tell the truth. After these 8 people knew the truth, they all regretted it so much that their intestines turned green. They kept running to me to play the role of the miserable male second. He almost knelt on the ground and cried for my forgiveness. They even said that it didn't matter if I didn't like them. The 8 of them were willing to be my backup forever. Be my good friend for life. Oh my God, why does this sound so familiar? Oh yes, this is what Lisa said to them. Lisa likes to live a carefree life with 9 people in the world. But I am not so fussy. I said to them seriously, I have a boyfriend and I love him very much. Please don't come to me anymore. The 8 of them heard this. Their expressions became more painful and unwilling. Finally, they left a sentence, I won't give up. Then they all left in unison. I was still wondering why he walked so smoothly this time. When I turned around, I saw Robert coming towards me with a frown on his face. Robert said that these 8 people were so persistent in pursuing me and they might come to bother me again in the future. He suggested that I stay at his house for a while. He is not busy during normal times, so he can send someone. Unexpectedly, the daughter Lisa gave birth to turned out to be a mentally ill person. I guess he was spoiled since he was a child. 2 days later, it was Robert's mother's birthday. Robert's mother heard him mention me and invited me to have dinner with her. Square root, I didn't want to go at first. But Robert said that his mother had been urging him to find a girlfriend recently, so he asked me to help him deal with his family. He has helped me so many times. It was hard for me to refuse such a small thing, so I agreed without hesitation. After I went there, I realized that it was not an ordinary family dinner. They invited hundreds of people to attend the birthday party. They were all dressed brightly and beautifully, and they were either rich or noble. I was stunned, even though Lisa had said before that Robert's parents wouldn't like me. But in his daily life, whether it is the car he drives, the clothes he wears, or where he lives, They are all very simple. I didn't expect that my family was richer than those 8 men. At the banquet, I saw 8 of Yobing's ex-boyfriends, as well as Lisa and her group of friends. None of these people's families are as rich as the Lin family. I usually followed Lisa around to curry favor with her and act as her little follower. When Robert went to visit his parents, Lisa's little sisters surrounded me. And I started to mock me. Is this the poor fellow who stole Yusher's man? The total amount of everything she's wearing shouldn't be more than 10,000, right? It's just a high-end imitation. I didn't expect those blind men would actually fall for her. It's a pity that Yusher risked her life to save them. They are just a bunch of heartless and unfaithful men. How dare you, an orphan with no money or power, come to a place like this? You don't really think that if 9 of them like you, their families will agree to let them marry you, right? Don't dream. Yusher is the daughter of the Lin family. She is the daughter-in-law that all the uncles and aunts in our circle want to be. Who do you think you are? Tisk, if you know what's best for you, I advise you to get out of here right away. They treat you differently now just for the sake of novelty. With your poor appearance, how can you compare to Yusher? Sooner or later, they will return to Yusher. Look, you've been here for so long and Madame Li doesn't even look at you. She doesn't even look down on people like you. Lisa spoke softly, but her eyes were filled with pride and disdain. Don't say that. Even though she has a bad family background, was born in an orphanage, and has a bad heart, it's still not good to bully a girl like this. The little follower smiled at Lisa flatteringly. Yusher, you are just too kind. With such a good family background and such gentleness and consideration, only such a poor thing dares to bully you. I will teach her a lesson for you today. I am speechless. Nothing good will happen when Lisa comes into contact with you. But the farce did not last long. Robert came back soon, and they all stepped aside, not daring to say a word. Robert glanced at them expressionlessly and said that his mother wanted to see me and asked him to take me over. When Lisa and others heard what Robert said, their faces changed slightly. Perhaps they didn't expect that Mrs. Li would take the initiative to meet a poor person like me. Come to Mrs. Li. I saw Mrs. Lin standing next to her. Mrs. Li held my hand affectionately and said, "You are the child who saved Cheng-Yi, right? I didn't expect you to be so pretty. I have wanted to meet you for a long time, but Cheng-Yi is so protective of me and won't let me meet you no matter what. He is so stingy." As she spoke, she glared at Robert and said, "Let me make it clear first. I only recognize this daughter-in-law. If you change her in the future, I will not agree." Who knew that Mrs. Li had just finished speaking? 8 more noble ladies gathered around me and surrounded me affectionately. One of them took my other hand and said, "Mrs. Li, this is not right. This is clearly the girl that our Wei Chuan likes. You can't compete with us for her. Child, I know that Wei Chuan has wronged you. I have beaten him. You saved him in the past, so he should be committed to you in the future." The noble lady dressed in gold and silver like a wealthy person grabbed my other hand and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? This is our Ziki's girlfriend. Although we had a quarrel some time ago, we will definitely make up in the future. Child, thanks to you for saving Ziki. As long as you marry our Ziki, I will buy you a wedding house now." The other ladies were not willing to be outdone, and they all started to grab my hands and pull me to get engaged to their sons. Mrs. Li became anxious and quickly called on her relatives to pull them apart. Then he protected me behind him and shouted, "Where are the security guards? Get them out. Why are they running into someone else's house to steal my daughter-in-law?" I was stunned. How come this is different from the agreed script? I looked around in confusion. I saw 8 psychopaths cheering their mother on. I also saw Robert with a sullen face leading his bodyguards to chase people away. Finally, my eyes fell on Lisa's face. The gentle and kind smile on her face could no longer be maintained. She gritted her teeth and her face twisted, staring at me hatefully. She hated me for taking her men away. He took away everything that belonged to her. The little followers around her were also confused. One of them said in shock, "Wasn't it you sure who saved the 9 of them? How come it suddenly became this poor country girl?" Before she finished speaking, Lisa looked over angrily. The little attendant's face froze, and he quickly put on a smile and said, "You sure? Don't bother with her. You are the daughter of the Lin family. These ladies are just saying polite words. Who would really marry a country girl with no money and no power?" Lisa gritted her teeth and her expression finally looked better. Who knew that at this moment, during the pushing and shoving, the jade bracelet that my parents left me was revealed on my arm. Mrs. Lin next to me suddenly turned pale, walked up to me and grabbed my hand. Madame Li said in panic, "Madame Lin, you don't have a son. Why are you here to join in the fun?" Mrs. Lin's eyes turned slightly red and she hugged me with tears in her eyes. She said excitedly, "Child, I have been looking for you for 5 years and finally found you. You are my biological daughter who has been missing for more than 20 years. Plus, in an instant, everyone was stunned. Lisa looked extremely unhappy, watching the scene in disbelief. Her little follower covered his mouth, looked at Lisa, then looked at me, completely dumbfounded. After Mrs. Li's birthday banquet ended, Mrs. Lin took me to do a paternity test, and soon the results came out. I am Mrs. Lin's biological daughter. Mrs. Lin hugged me and cried her heart out. Mr. Lin wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and gently held us both in his arms. After Mrs. Li's birthday banquet ended, Mrs. Lin took me to do a paternity test, and soon the results came out. I am Mrs. Lin's biological daughter. Mrs. Lin hugged me and cried her heart out. Mr. Lin wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and gently held us both in his arms. I was held in the innermost part by 2 people like a nesting doll. I glanced at the end of the corridor and saw Lisa, whose face was pale and who was looking at me with vicious eyes and shaky. Then I looked at Mrs. Lin, who was holding me, and I was still a little confused. "Stop crying. Can you please tell me what is going on?" Mrs. Lin wiped her tears and burst into laughter. Finally, he slowly told me what had happened. My mother, Mrs. Lin, and her sister Helen are twin sisters who look very similar. So when Lisa and I were born, we looked almost exactly the same. Helen attempted to seduce my father but failed and was kicked out of the Lin family. At that time, she was driven away and held a grudge, so she secretly swapped the 2 children and left with me. She stole the bracelet to exchange for money, and I didn't expect that she would be so bad as to steal the child. It was not until a physical examination 5 years ago that my parents unexpectedly discovered that Lisa was not their biological daughter because of her blood type. At that time, they started looking for me secretly. These people are always trying to steal my wife away from me. I'm told to arrange a marriage for the 2 children first, otherwise I won't feel at ease for the whole day. My mother didn't agree, but turned to ask me, "Chunchung, what do you think?" I hesitated for a moment and actually wanted to say that I didn't want to get engaged yet. As a result, Robert next to me squeezed my hand anxiously and stared at me pitifully. I coughed lightly and said, "Then, let's get engaged to Robert." Yes, Robert and I turned our fake relationship into reality. Robert breathed a sigh of relief. Mrs. Li smiled immediately. The other 8 noble ladies all looked disappointed and glared at their sons with regret. Their son looked at me in dismay. Everyone's eyes were on me, as if I were a piece of Tang monk's meat. I shuddered subconsciously. Suddenly I feel that getting engaged and married now is also a good idea. When I went to try out wedding photos, Lisa hit me with her car, selling the female protagonist's performance lamp. Z's anti-collision performance is top-notch. My car is fine. She smashed the front of her car, The man was seriously injured and almost died. My parents were still scared, and after she was discharged from the hospital, they sued her and her mother. The mother and daughter could no longer cause trouble and were all arrested. The day Robert and I got married, not only our parents were present, the 8 mother and child groups came uninvited as well. Let's continue. My father showed a relieved and satisfied look and solemnly placed my hand on Robert's hand. I only have this one daughter. From now on, you must treat her well, otherwise, I will not let you go. I almost broke down. Dad, can't you change your line? My father noticed my resentful look and touched his nose with an embarrassed expression. Robert said solemnly, Dad, don't worry. For the rest of my life, I will cherish Chung Chung and will never give other lunatics a chance to take advantage of her. The 8 lunatics got up and said with red eyes, Robert, you'd better remember the Salt Story copyright. Live today's words. I stared at them expressionlessly. Go away, you are making too much drama today. Paul said excitedly, Chung Chung is looking at me. Does she still have me in her heart? The other 7 people said, bullshit, she was clearly looking at me. Then several people looked at me excitedly and said in unison, Chung Chung, it doesn't matter if you want to break up now, I will marry you today. Robert had a sour face and his fists were stiff again. I quickly took Robert's arm and advised, let's fight after the wedding. Robert smiled gently, okay,